Okay guys, I thought it was about time to make a floor pan rotisserie. As you can see here, I've got a floor pan on the lift. This is another customer's Beetle. They want me to replace the floor pans in it. And so I thought, just to make things easier, I'll go ahead and make a rotisserie and use it for this one in future projects. And what I'm going to use for this rotisserie is a couple of engine stands. I picked these up at the bus depot. Find them online. I'll put a link in the description below. They usually ship these FedEx, so you get them pretty fast. And it's just your standard VW engine stand. And along with that, I picked up some metal from my local metal supply. I've got a piece of angle iron for the brackets to attach to the pan. Then I got this piece of pipe, a couple of spacers for the front, and then finally a 7-foot piece of square tubing to connect the two engine stands at the bottom. Now on these engine stands, I had originally bought a couple from Harbor Freight, but those are designed for the bigger V8 motors. And so when you get those, you'll notice that they, instead of standing up 90 degrees from the ground, they tend to lean back a little bit to compensate for the weight of the motor. So I had to get rid of those and then pick up a couple of these. These are more at a 90-degree angle, which will make it easier once I got this all together to actually spin the floor pan. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start at the pan and work my way out to the engine stands. So we'll start with this angle iron, make our brackets that attach to the pan. Okay, to attach the bracket in the rear, I'm going to use the stock transmission bolts. So these are they're 11 3/4 inches apart, center to center. So I want the bracket to be just a little bit longer than that. So on my angle iron, I got a piece long enough for the front and the back. So I'll probably cut this, let's see, this is, I got 3 feet. So about 1.5 feet. If I cut 1.5 feet of this, that'll be enough to give me a little bit of extra length beyond the pan bolts. Now, when I first started thinking about this, my first thought was to get a piece of flat stock or flat metal, which that would work, but you would need a thickness of about at least 3/16, maybe even 1/4 inch. But with this angle iron, the angle on it provides a lot of extra strength, and this is only 1/8 inch on the thickness. So I think this will be plenty strong enough considering, the weight of the pan, which is not a whole lot. So we'll go with that. Let's go ahead and cut this in half, and then I'll have a 1.5 feet for the back and the same for the front. Okay, so we've got our piece of angle iron cut, and what I did, I found the center of it here. I'm gonna set it on here and just kind of eyeball it. I've got the center of the 2 bolt holes here, and so we'll just make a line there with the square, just to give us a reference point, because you want to make sure you get these holes drilled out in the right spot, or you'll fight with trying to get the bolts in. So I think I've got the width correct, and now I'll just go up about halfway on one side of this and drill my holes there. Okay, I've got myself a couple of pilot holes drilled out, and the shank on this transmission bolt is a little more than 3/4 of an inch in diameter. So it's going to take a pretty good size hole, probably somewhere around 13/16. But I'll use this step bit and to drill that out and go from there. Okay, that one's big enough. I think I went, like I said, 13/16 on it. It's got a little extra room, but I'll drill the other one, then we'll test fit it on the pan. Okay, moment of truth. Looks good. Okay, this angle iron is a little bit thinner than the original bracket that goes here for the transmission cradle. So what has happened is the threads have bottomed out already, so I'll have to tighten this up. I'll just put a couple of spacers behind the angle iron on each side. And after that, we'll take our pipe that will go to our engine stand, find the center of this, and weld that on there. And again, I got a piece long enough for both ends of it, so I'll just cut this in half and have one for either end. Okay guys, I went ahead and made a mark here in the center of the angle iron between the two pan forks, and got my piece of pipe cut to go from the angle iron over to the engine stand. I've got the pan lower or sitting on the lift at the same height as the receiver part of the engine stand. And then on the pipe, because this angle iron has a kind of a rounded corner in it, I went ahead and took some of the material off of the lip of this pipe so it'll fit in there snug. So we'll just slide it in there like this. And by taking that material off, let me see if I can get in closer. The pipe fits up nice and snug to both this side and then again on the bottom. That'll make it to where I can get a good bead of weld on both sides of that. And then I've also, I'm going with the foot of this pipe. That way I can, for whatever reasons, I can move this engine stand in or out, closer or further away from the pan. So now I'm at a point where I'll just tighten this down, hold it in place, put a few tacks on here, and then weld it in. Okay guys, I got that welded in. Not the prettiest weld, but just put a nice bead around this edge and then down both sides of it there. So it feels pretty strong. Let's go ahead and move to the front. Okay, for the front, it's pretty much going to be the same process that we used in the back. The only difference is we're going to use two of the holes for the front axle beam, and I'm going to use the bottom ones. This is pretty much in line with the two bolts in the back. I think these two here might be about a ½ an inch higher from the ground than the two fork bolts, which that's not a big deal for just spinning the pan. And because of these bumps right here, these two bumps, I got these spacers. So once I drill the holes, I'll put the spacer on first, then the angle iron, and then we'll weld it to that. So it'll go something like this. Just like that. So again, I'll find the center, I'll drill my bolt holes, and then weld this pipe to the angle iron. Alright guys, we are done with the two mounts, front and rear. Now all we got to do is tie the bottom together with the long piece of square tubing, and we can take this off the lift and see what it does. Okay, the last piece I have for this rotisserie is this 7-foot piece of square tubing. And what I did on both of the engine stands is I added this little lock bolt. And all I did was drill a hole in here big enough to fit the threads, welded the nut on there, and now I got myself a bolt to lock that in place. So what I'll do is I'll add this piece of square tube, and basically what that does is it'll help keep the two engine stands from kind of doing this at the bottom and maybe causing some issues. So we'll tie that all together, and then let's get this off the lift and see how it works. All right, I just got to get it up over this plate on the lift. But it rolls pretty good. Nice. And that's at a good height. It's right at waist height, so it makes it easy for working, changing out pans and stuff. All right, let's see how it spins. Okay, good, that way. That way too. Looks like it's got pretty good clearance. The tire jack receivers are kind of close to that center bar, but that's about a 1/2 inch clearance. That should be good. But again, you can move it around the shop, set it up like this, and just work on it. Or one thing I just realized, the casters, those rear casters on the engine stands, they don't pivot. So basically, I just move it back and forth right now. So I guess I'll pick up some casters that will spin, so I can turn it and stuff like that. So, or on second thought, I could just do this. Yeah, I'm happy with it. I think it turned out nice for what it's meant for, and be a lot of help working on pans. Well, hey guys, that's it for the rotisserie. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.